All right, so we have Burton here, and RJ has graciously asked Burton here from PropStream to give us a demo, because I think it's a, RJ, you can say your testimony about the platform, but I've heard good things about it, so I wanted to have somebody that is well versed in the platform to give us a demo and see what the ability, and just let us know what the all the features on PropStream. All right. So on that note, I'm gonna turn my camera off and then pretty much have let Burton run the show right now. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thanks for investing your time with me today. My name is Burton. A little bit about me. I've been working with PropStream for nearly a decade now. PropStream has been collecting data for about 15 years. The data that we collect is nationwide, and let me just show you exactly the data that we collect. So we collect obviously a multitude of different data from different multitude of providers. Those will be residential data, commercial, industrial, vacant land. We have agricultural, exempt properties, office spaces as well. So on top of that information, we also purchase other data sets like tax assessor data, deeds, open mortgages. You can see MLS on market data. So we've partnered up with nearly 93% of the MLS boards nationwide. So you can see if a property is on market, active listings, contingent listings. We have MLS history data too. So excuse me, you can see a failed listing, for example, an expired listing. You can see a sold listing as well. That way you can run comps using that data. Master addresses, estimated values, HOA data. We even created our own data along the way, such as like pre-probate data. We've been able to successfully identify homeowners that have passed away with their names still attached to a property, and flippers. We've been able to also identify properties that are being bought and put back on the market in less than 24 months. So this is just what we've been doing for over 15 years now. Now, other than just collecting a bunch of data and putting it into a server, it's what we actually do with that data that separates us from most softwares out there. And what we do with that data is solve two of the most fundamental things everybody in this industry is going to need. And that's lead generation and analyzing a property. I don't care whether you're a banker, you're an agent, a broker, a wholesaler, fix and flipper, you need to solve these two problems, period, right? You need to generate leads and continue that, building of that pipeline. So you're closing deals every month, every other month, every quarter, however you go about it, right? But other than getting the leads, you also need to analyze that property if someone were to call you back. So it's one thing to just get a list of motivated sellers and market to them, but it's another when they start actually calling you back. When they call you back, the next problem is you need to know everything about that property. And that's also a problem that we solve. The information that we give you on a property are the property details, the financial details like the mortgage and equity info, the homeowner situation data, like if there's a lien or a pre-foreclosure or a bankruptcy on the property, and finally, the ability to run comps, such as using our MLS data I mentioned earlier, or our public record data. And you can even print out the comps report to hand it to these homeowners to justify that offer of yours. So that's what we can do. Now let's focus on lead generation. I'd like to show you guys how one can just jump into PropStream, search anywhere in the United States, and just build an off-market list, as well as a cash buyers list. And before I dive into that, I do want to let you know I won't be covering all the bases of lead generation. What I'm going to be focusing on right now is just part one. Part two and part three we do have, which is skip tracing. That's getting a cell phone or an email in less than 5 minutes through PropStream. It is an additional cost, starts at 12 cents. And then marketing. You can actually, within PropStream, not only build a list and get phone numbers and emails, but you can even directly market to them. So you can set up a website for your list. You can send them postcards, voicemails, and email marketing as well. So again, not just pulling a list from PropStream, but gathering contact information, and even marketing to that same list within a few minutes. So again, I won't be covering part two and part three. So let's just jump into part one. I'd like to show you now how you can try out your trial period today and jump into PropStream and just pull properties. So in order to build a list, we need to do the following steps: search, filter, save our results, and then export our leads. When you log into PropStream, again, we're a nationwide data provider. And the moment you log in, we're going to shoot you into our search page. The idea is that we believe you're probably searching an address or building a list of leads so that hopefully you'll be able to search an address. So once you're in the search page, in order to even begin filtering for leads, you need to identify a market by searching a market in our search bar. And you can search by a county, a city, a zip code, or even our draw search feature at the top left of the map. So for this example, let's say I wanted to search Riverside County where I live. So Riverside County, it now pulls up all of our data in that county that we've collected for you. So what we're staring at here on the right-hand side, just think of this as like all the records just being dumped on a desk. There's 1 million records that you can go through PropStream. And these 1 million records are, again, a collection of all of these combined. Now, we do help you out a little bit. We'll take those 1 million records and funnel them through our 8 categories here. So we'll show you how many are on the market, how many are in pre-foreclosure, how many have an auction date, how many have a foreclosure, how many non-owner cash transactions there are in the city or county, how many liens there are, how many properties not answering their mail, and finally, how many properties have 50% or more in equity or $100,000 or more in equity. So right off the bat, if you want to go through 1 million records, here you go on the right side. If you want to just go through the auctions, click on auctions, and that's what we're going to give you on the right side. So step 1 of building a list is we got to get to a market, and it could be a county in this case, or it could be a city. You can go to maybe New York City if you wanted to, and pull leads in that market as well. So again, we don't restrict you from going from one area to the next. You can go anywhere you'd like. And this is a reality, right? You might be dealing with a homeowner locally and they're like, I don't want to sell this house, but I have a house in Vegas, or I have a house in Phoenix, or I have a house in Dallas, Texas. You're going to be able to pull up that property and that market at the same time. So whether it's a county, a city, a zip code, choose your market. Once you've identified a market, let's say Dallas, Texas, I'd like you to visit our filter. Our filter is probably your next stop when building a list, because in this area, just like you would normally when building a list, you get to choose any of our lists. So again, the concept is to pull up a market and then go straight into our filter. And then from there, just like if you were to walk into the county's office today, you need to get a list from them. And so we have 19 options for you. The first 8 that you're seeing are the same first 8 boxes that you saw right over here. So I always just go into the filters because you're going to see, again, the first 8 categories that we just went over, plus 11 others: free and clear, bankruptcy, divorces, delinquencies, flippers, failed listings, senior owners, vacant land, tired landlords, zombie properties, and pre-probate, our new data set. So what list would you like to start with? I'd like to start with all the senior owners. Well, then here you go, 95,000 senior owners. So we went from X amount, prior to senior owners, we went from 369 to, when I say senior owners, literally about 90% of the list is just completely wiped out, because that's not a senior owner if they're not on here, right? So at this point, now that you've selected a list, again, it's like going to the county, grabbing a list, and then getting out of there. But the list hasn't been filtered entirely yet. You've picked a category, but you haven't necessarily filtered that category. So here on the left-hand side are our additional filters. At this point, you can start at the top and start creating a story. Do you want the owner occupying this property, or do you want an absentee owner, a non-owner occupied property? This means that the homeowner is not living in the house. This is probably their second or third or fourth home. If you don't care whether they're owner occupied or non-owner occupied, then keep it under any at that point. For today, I'd like to see non-owner occupied properties. And now since we collect postal service data, you can see if whether this non-owner occupied property has an occupied resident in it or it's completely vacant, right? So how can a property be non-owner occupied and occupied at the same time? It's because it's being rented out and someone's answering their mail. That's the renter answering the mail. What if it's non-owner occupied and vacant? That means the property is not living, the owner is not living in the house and no one's answering the mail. It could be completely empty right now while they're trying to find a renter or trying to sell it on the market. Or maybe they're just struggling to get someone to rent it out. And this is where you can come in. Property characteristics. This is where you can now choose what type of classification of data. Residential, commercial, office space, industrial. So again, we're not just residential. If you wanted office space owned by senior owners, here you go. It's office buildings. If you wanted a commercial building owned by a senior owner, there you go. Service stations, restaurants, mini warehouses, the list goes on. I know most of us here are in the residential space, so we'd probably click residential followed by property type. In most cases, single family. But again, you can choose mobile homes, you can choose high rises. We'll leave that up to you. So class and property type can be specified, and then property characteristics, which you guys are familiar with. Some unique ones to PropStream are searching for unit numbers, numbers of stories, and whether the property is in or not in an HOA. Like for example, senior owner, minimum 2-story building. What I'm trying to look for is someone who's, tired of walking up and down, perhaps, right? Ever considered that to be a reason someone wants to sell the property? This would be a perfect category for someone to potentially say yeah to that question. After property characteristics, you have the MLS stats. So this is an area where you can start stacking our data. So you can say something like, I'd like a senior owner, and you can search by keywords in the description of the MLS, or just whether it's on market. I like a senior owned property that's listed with an agent or not listed with an agent. This is what most of us are going to probably want, non-owner occupied properties, or any. I don't care if it is or isn't. I'm just looking for X amount. Now, as I continue downward, you'll notice that your summary is here on the right side. If at any point you don't like something, you can revisit and make those adjustments manually. Or another option is highlight the summary. There's a little X button here. You can click on that X button and it removes any of those filters you added along the way. But here I would say the most popular filter is definitely going no on market. So most users, and I assume yourself as well, will want to make sure it's an off-market property. After you're done with our MLS status, you have the pre-foreclosure bank-owned category. So this will let you look for a senior owner who happens to be in a pre-foreclosure as well. So feel free to select the actual document type they might be in, or even remove foreclosure records from your search. I know some of us are new and you may not want to deal with the pre-foreclosure record right now. So you can go into this area and say, get rid of those pre-foreclosures from my search. That way you're not coming across them. Now, for those that do decide to default auctions or any of the options here, recording dates, option, bid amounts, default amounts are all filterable options. Next is ownership info. This is going to allow you to essentially manipulate the owner's information, whether they've owned the property for X amount of years. Consider that someone buying it yesterday is not going to sell you the property, right? So add years of ownership to some categories. That's a kind of like a best practice for most cases. You can specify whether a property is owned by an individual or LLC, right? That's the difference between calling someone and speaking to the homeowner directly or calling someone and speaking to their secretary. So this will let you distinguish whether property owned by a person or corporate or a trust, perhaps, right? You might end up speaking to an executor of the property or the administrator or whatever you want to call them. Last sell date, last sell price, even how many other properties they have under their name. The taxes that they pay, the location that they're in, whether they're out of state, out of county, or even a local owner. If any of the properties have a deceased person on title, and if any of the properties have been transferred to a family member, that might maybe indicate some sort of, movement for, knock on wood, because someone might be ill or perhaps just planning their retirement ahead of time. Next category is the lien, bankruptcy, divorce filters. Since we collect that type of data, this is an area in which you can target that data in your search. So I like a senior owner, for example, who has an active lien on their property. And here are my 7 right over here. So I can look for a senior owner with a lien, with a bankruptcy, with a divorce, or if a lien was released or bankruptcy was released at one point. I can specify the type of lien I'm aiming for. And I can even suppress the liens that I don't want or the bankruptcies I don't want, et cetera. So just like in the MLS and pre-foreclosure area, you can target the results that are here or stay away from them. You know, I don't want a senior owner with a lien. Let's suppress the liens, and you'll see now 7 results were removed, right? Those 7 results were these 7 that have an active lien. So I can say senior owners with a lien and find those 7, or senior owners without a lien and get rid of those 7. It's really up to you. But we have recording dates, lien amounts, and delinquency year filters along the way. Now, the last 2 categories are just more preference filters, but the second to last is valuation and equity. What's important here is to be able to tell us what estimated values you're looking for, rental values you're looking for, growth over time if needed. I would say the most popular filters are the equity filters down here. You can either search by equity dollar amount or equity percentile. This is probably the more popular of the bunch. You'll maybe put like 30%, 40% equity. As they say, the more the merrier. Loan to value ratio and tax filters are all in the valuation equity area. And finally, certainly not least, our mortgage filter. As I showed you guys earlier, we collect mortgage data. So one of the things you can do is find a property with a mortgage. So like think of this example, right? Senior owned property, probably on a fixed income, non-owner occupied property there. So this is probably their second or third home. And it's vacant. There's nobody living in this house right now, right? It's not being rented out. It's probably a vacation home or in between tenants. So not only are you like not living in this house and it's not cash flowing, that's one level of motivation. Here's another level of motivation. There's an open mortgage on the property as well. So not only is it not renting out every month and you're not there, you have a mortgage you have to pay on this property every month. And so where you should be renting it out and making profit, you're not. You're actually losing profit because of this open mortgage and you not even being there and nobody renting it out. So this is our mortgage area. You can say 1 or 4 open mortgages, the balance, the loan to value ratios. And even if a property was once bought in cash or currently free and clear or has a private note attached to it right now. These are all of the filters that you have access to manipulate all of this data as you see fit. So once you do it accordingly, just like I did, senior owners in Dallas, Texas, non-owner, vacant, certain property characteristics, off market, no pre-foreclosures, owned by a person for whatever X amount of years you're looking for, no liens, a little bit of equity, and just 1 mortgage. I'm able to now hit close at the bottom, and these are my specific 22 properties, senior owner properties, that meet that criteria. So that's how people are building a list with PropStream at the comfort of their own desk. They're no longer waiting for someone to knock on their office door to list their property. You can now be very proactive in terms of just search your market, start with the list, and just refine it down to what you need for your business. And once you have that here on the right-hand side, you can check them all off or one at a time. We'll let you decide how many you need. But if you need them all, check them all off. And here on the far right, you can now hit add to a marketing list or add to lists. We can now add it to an existing list or create a new one. Perhaps we'll call this the Dallas Senior Owners and hit save. And what you just did right now is literally what most of our investors are needing to do regardless of having PropStream or not. And that's build a list. Remember in the past, it was go to the county and that's how you searched and then grab the list from them. And there were no computers for us to filter right away. Like what we just did is would have taken maybe a week and a half of work back in the day because you had to grab the list from the county, then go to a source that had mortgage information, which there weren't too many out there to begin with, and then speak to a realtor that you might know or befriended to see if any of the properties were on or off market, because you don't want to step on their toes, right? Or lock up a property that's already on contract with somebody else. That would be silly. So again, that would have been like a week and a half's worth of research. Not in our case. We literally did that in about, what, 20 minutes tops. And so once you have your lists and you have them saved, by checking them off and hit add to list, you can now go into your filing cabinet called My Properties. And from here, you'll be able to see your marketing list. Now, at this point, you're pretty much done. And you've searched, you've filtered for your senior owners, you've saved your list. You can now export your results. And to do that, it's as simple as clicking your lists, checking off all the addresses using this blank box right here. There's a blue button that says export. And if you do that, your Excel sheet is now generated. And here you go. Now, note that when you're just building a list with us and exporting, you are going to get the property address, the homeowner's name, mailing address, and property characteristics, right? You're not getting any contact information. I just want to make that very clear that when you build a list with us or from our search page, there's no contact information. That's why we've included skip tracing and marketing. As I mentioned earlier, that's a part 2 and part 3. Not everybody's going to need it. That's why we're not forcing it on you. But if I wanted to, I can take this list of Dallas senior owners, skip trace it, and in about 3 minutes, or actually maybe even sooner than that, I'll be able to go into my contacts page. This is where we send your results. And at the bottom left right over here, I'll be able to see any list I've skip traced and the contact information that was acquired. So think about that. Like, I can either drive to 5 of these addresses in the middle of the day, traffic, red lights, lots of people and pedestrians I have to worry about, and bad drivers. So just driving to 5 properties is probably already $5 in gas, right? Now, if I skip trace 53 properties, look how much I spent. So for $4.90, I have 49 phone numbers and emails. So you can drive to 49 houses. I can call them, right? Who's going to get through the list faster, you or me? So the skip tracing concept is just utter brilliance, especially when you have 9 out of 10 people walking around with a cell phone. So yeah, definitely take full advantage of that. And then again, running a campaign. Our campaign area is designed for you to take that list that you searched and saved and even skip traced and now establish a campaign. And again, your campaign could be an auctions campaign because you created an auctions list. It could be a lien campaign, a vacant campaign, a Long Beach senior owners campaign, whatever campaign it is. You can create as many as you like. And for each campaign that you create for your 75 addresses or 50 addresses or 100 addresses, you get a free website. The website, so you can talk to the 75 people personally, right? This website says, hey guys, I buy houses, we close in 30 days. There's a reason I'm using 30 days. And you know why? You know what that reason was? It's because this is an auctions list. I'm not going to say we buy houses in a year. No, because they need help right away. So I get to talk to them about their situation specifically in that website right over here. So free website for your active campaign. So if you create a buyer's campaign, that means your buyer's campaign of 17 buyers, the website could say something else. It could say, hey, buyers, how would you like to make money? In this case, right over here. And every website you create with us gets an application that the buyers or sellers can fill out. And you'll get an email if they actually fill it out. So campaign, first thing you get, website. After you create the website, feel free to send postcards. We have templates, so you don't have to worry about creating or designing or finding one online. Just choose one of ours. Once you have the one that you like, select it, and then just hit print and mail. We'll send it out for you, okay? You can also do ringless voicemails, which, to be honest, have been currently disabled for the time being. Lots of politics happening right now, and so we don't want to get anybody in trouble. We are shutting it down until further notice. And then email marketing. That's still fair game. So you can set up an email with us and then send it out directly to the homeowner's email. Now, if it's delivered successfully, it's 2 cents. If it doesn't get delivered, we won't charge you at all. So the attempt will be made. If successful, 2 cents. If not, then again, we're not going to charge you for that. So what I just showed you is what nearly hundreds of thousands of PropStream users across the nation are doing. They're simply going into a market and being more proactive than reactive, instead of waiting for someone, they're going in here and building problems using our filters to call and see if they want to sell those properties. Now, the next question is, what happens when one of these 22 properties that we just saved, skip traced, and market to call back? That's the second problem, right? It's one thing to generate leads. It's another to actually now talk to the homeowner about that property. And you can either do it one of 2 ways. In the past, you only had 2 ways. You had to do the research ahead of time, right? So get all the data on that property before the homeowner even called you. That could have taken days, weeks, imagine. And when you finally spoke to the homeowner, you were fully prepared, right? It's like, practicing before the actual game. Or if you didn't do that, the other method was just ask a lot of questions. How old's your property? Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know? So both methods were sort of effective, right? Now imagine doing all the research for a week and then you call someone and they're like, yeah, not interested in the first 2 minutes. Wow, you just wasted a week's worth of time, right? And then the other end, what if you're calling someone, you don't know anything about the property, you're asking a lot of questions and they're turned off by it. They're like, oh, I thought you were an investor. You're supposed to know all this stuff. And then they just hang up on you. See, that's not the case anymore. We've done the scavenger hunt for you. So when you're analyzing a property, you just need to search the address or click on the parcel. And we're going to give you all of our data for you to find opportunities. Let me show you what I mean. So if any of these 22 properties here on the right side were to call me, first thing I can do is just click on the property, or I can search the address. That's probably what's going to end up happening, right? You're probably sitting on the couch watching TV or making dinner, and you get a phone call. Don't know the number, you pick it up. Hi, I got your postcard. Oh, thank you for calling me, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner. What's your address, right? Because you're in a panic, you're logged into PropStream. Just ask them for their address and type in their address in the search bar. And when you do that, we'll give you the actual address. And if you click on it, instead of results on the right side, remember how a few moments ago we were searching for Dallas, so we got like 300,000 records? That's not the case. When you search by an address, that's all you get on the right side now. You get just the addresses, brief details, and the nearby listings. We'll show you the neighbors around the property on the map. So green is the house, red are the neighbors, and number 1 is number 1, number 2 is number 2. So it's based off proximity. We'll show you the MLS, we'll show you the pre-foreclosures around the house, all of that local knowledge. But here's the reality. Anytime you're talking to a person using PropStream, go into the details of the property, and you'll get what we call our property details page. This is everything we have on this property. And whether it's this property or number 95, when you go into the details, it's the same layout. So we wanted to make sure that any property you click on, you're going to be reading the same type of format, okay? So what is it that we get in this format? The big 4 things you need: property details, financial information, situational data, like if they have multiple properties, their tax information, etc., liens, bankruptcies, and then you need to be able to run comps on that property. This is all here. So in our dashboard, we're going to give you a satellite image of the property, and feel free to click on it. It's Google Maps. Don't be afraid. You can zoom out and zoom in. Heck, you can even drag the person onto the street and take a look at it from ground level if you need to. It looks like we're in the alley. So we need to go to the front of the house instead. Boom, there we go. And now we can see it from ground level, take a look at the neighbors. Maybe the neighbors also need to be called. You never know, right? Cross the street, take a look at the road. I mean, this will give you an idea of what's going on in the environment. So satellite image, then property characteristics, then a summary telling you what's happening with the homeowner, like the type of property, whether it's on or off market, type of owner, is it non-owner or owner occupied, or is it occupied or vacant? Why does this look familiar? Non-owner, vacant. It looks familiar because that's the list we built a few moments ago. Non-owner, vacant, senior owner, several years of ownership, right? So summary, financial information, estimated values, how many comps are in the market that you can filter through, the mortgage that they have and what their balances that we've calculated, if there's any liens, how many and what the lien amounts are, the equity, the monthly rent. So as I'm talking to the homeowner, again, in the past, I had to get all this information. I just had to click a button, I have it now. And in the past, if I didn't have this information, I would have been saying things like, how old is your house? As if they knew, right? Today, I can say my records show your house is about 70, almost 70 years old. That's awesome. But have you guys done the roof lately? Oh, my records indicate you only have one bathroom. Do you guys need an upgrade perhaps? Oh, that's why you're calling me. You want a second bath. Oh, I didn't know that. See, sometimes it's not just the lien or the pre-for, it's stuff like that. It could be the 7-year-old building leaking. It could be that family just had a baby. They need a second bathroom. It could be 20 years of being in this community and just seeing the road never being fixed, right? Could be the reason they want to move to a better place. We don't know. So the dashboard gives you preliminary qualifying information, while below gives you more detailed information. So property details shows you the owner's information, land information, tax information. To the right of that, I'm going to skip, but you can run comps and I'll show you in a few moments. But then we have the situational data, the tax information, that's probably the reason why they want to sell. The linked properties, right? If this is a non-owner occupied property, they probably own another property, and we're going to be able to show you those other properties. Mortgage and tax information, I now can say things like, hey, how's Summit Funding treating you guys? Oh, like crap, well, let me get you out of that situation, right? Could be the lender, that's why they want to sell. You don't know, but now we can, again, ask those types of questions confidently and know potentially how much we need to cover if we are going to make an offer. If I make an offer on this property, you think 50,000 is going to satisfy the homeowner? That's probably a quick hang-up call, right? You probably might want to consider that you might need to offer a little bit more than a $50,000 because of that mortgage. Documents and reports can also be purchased through PropStream. You can get the assessor's map of the property. You can perhaps get a deed of the property as well. And finally, as you're talking to Teresa and Gerald about the property and asking about the 7-year-old building, about maybe potentially upgrading and how the community has been, how their taxes are on the property, how owning 2 properties, how that works out for them, the mortgage company they're using for your properties. Once we figure out what the problem is, this is the last stop, because now there's probably an opportunity now for me to mention an offer, or they're going to be so comfortable with me and friendly with me. They're going to be like, well, Burton, since you're calling me to buy our house, what's your offer? And this is where you can calculate your offer. In our comparables and nearby listings, we're going to literally give you a whole different bottom half. And from here, you can see the 4 comps options. Comps, which are properties that just got recorded and sold, are sold and recorded. And these are records from the public county records or the local MLS, or you could put them both. So green are public records, blue are MLS records. You can look at properties that have been flipped in less than 2 years. So if someone bought a property and then sold it in less than 2 years, we'll show you where they're at around this property. And you can see there's a lot of flippers in this market. So rest assured, this property will probably move when when you have it on contract. Neighboring records in case you're in a gated area or cul-de-sac perhaps, and cash transactions, right? Maybe you want to know what cash buyers are looking to pay out of pocket for rent or for investment properties. As for these other boxes, they're called nearby listings. That's if you need maybe another pre-foreclosure next to the house, or you're looking for another lien around that property. You figured, you know what? If this person's in problem, there might be other people around that are in problem, having a problem too. And that's what these are right here. But again, in terms of running comps, the first 4 boxes are your best friends. The first one is probably everybody's best friend. And this is how one would run a comp. They would go in our comparables, choose comparables, decide whether they want county records or MLS records. And then from there, we have filters. So we go back a year, but if that's not, if that's too long, for example, move it up. Go to March, go back 6 months if you wanted to. Beds and bathrooms, apples to apples. When you're comping a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom property, that's probably what you need to look for, a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom minimum, right? Now, if you don't put anything in the max, here in your results, you might see some 4 bedrooms. How do you get rid of them? You can either uncheck those 4 bedrooms, or you can just put a 3 in the max and it gets rid of all the 4s. You can do the same with the bathroom. Just show me the 3 ones as well, right? Finally, square footage, status of MLS data. If you're using public records, your filters will adjust. You get to choose the sell situation. I want a cash transaction that was recorded. I want a foreclosure transaction that was recorded. If you use both, then both filters are available. I want a sold MLS transaction and I want a finance record from the county, right? Or I want a cash transaction from the county, whichever one you'd like. A lot of people like our MLS. I don't blame them. Photos are probably the biggest reasons to that. And then you can increase or decrease your distance. Maybe half a mile is not enough. Maybe you need to go out a mile because the lot sizes are so huge, right? And finally, again, apples to apples. If you're running comps on a mobile home, make sure you're letting us know that you need residential and scroll down for mobile home. And in this case, it's a residential single family. This is our subject property here. So I want residential single family. And now here are my results around my subject property. So subject property is red. Here are the comps. I now see the addresses, the property type, the data that I was using, right? The status, the date that it sold, the amount. Now be wary, anything that you see with a low amount like that, that's a rental property. So a property with 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1,200 square footage, rented out for $1,800. Hey, we now know where our rental values are at in this market, right? About $1,800 plus or minus. So great data, but I think the most important part about the comp data are the photos. It's one thing to know the price. It's another to know if that price was an as-is price or a rehab price, right? So this 260, as is a rehab, click on the picture. Pictures show me rehab property. That 260 is an after repair value, and it's really nice too. You can see they actually paid a lot of attention to it. Oh, I don't know about the pink bathroom. Maybe you could have gotten more, but who knows? 220, as is or after repair value. Click on that. After repair value, right? So you're able to use actual data, sold data, to not only calculate the market value of this property, but to also use when negotiating. One of the things that you're going to come across is these homeowners are always going to want full price. So I can say, you know what, let me show numbers 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7, and go to actions and generate a report. This is probably the final stop when dealing with the homeowner, is after talking about the property and the financial stuff, and then running comps to see what the market value is, I'm going to grab the same comps and use that to justify my offer. Right? Because the homeowner is going to be like, well, if you know a house sold for 260, I want 260. Okay, yeah, your house could sell for 260, but let me show you this report really quick. This is your house. This is your house's characteristics. And these are the low selling comps in the area, the high selling comps in the area, and the average in the area. Now your homeowner is probably going to say, I want 260, no questions asked. And don't argue with them. I would say, agree with them. Say, yeah, I think your house could sell for 260. But let me show you where your house is and where that 260 is. So you can show them where the comps are and show them that 260 is number A. So it's like right over here, it's next to you. So he's even more excited. Oh my God, my house is in the 260 market. Yeah, it actually is. But again, there's that big but that 260 property, here's what it looks like. So as you go down, we're going to show them a summary of each property. But when we're going to show them the photos of each property as well. That's the big but. Mr. Homeowner, that number 1 that sold for 290, I think your house could sell for 292. It's right down the street. But this is what that house looks like. Your house is nowhere near that, right? Your house has trash, your house has mold, your house has dead pets, whatever it is, right? Boarded up windows, piping needs to be done, foundation is cracked. So now I can get that unrealistic mindset out of that homeowner's mind professionally. I can say, look, I believe you. I believe your house could sell for 290, 260 plus, but it needs to be in this condition. And based on what I'm seeing here and your house right now, your house is about 50% there. That's why I'm offering 50% instead of 100% market value. So running comps, again, it's not about finding a perfect numbers. Can you justify your offer? And yes, you can. Just simply use the data correctly. And from there, guys, this is the end of what we can do for you. Again, two biggest solutions solved within PropStream. That's lead generation and what I just did now, searching a property by address, going into the details and identifying that property details, the financial details, and the ability to run comps all in one page. And hopefully by just doing those two fundamental things, and the things in between, contracts, negotiating, following up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Consistency, of course, you should hopefully be able to work on your next deal within PropStream. So I want to thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity. I know some of you guys out there are already seasoned investors or just starting out. I want to thank you guys for doing what you guys are doing and solving all of these homeowners' problems. We hope that we can help you get to them faster. So thank you guys so much, Paul. Bernardo, thank you so much.